Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Pace Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 227. There is not a single other podcast that gets more views, more downloads, and has a better audience than Wholesale Hotline. My name is Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, located here in Arizona. We've got Pace Morby. We've got Jerry Norton in Montana, and we've got the incredible Jamil Damji sitting in Calgary, Canada. We are here. We are ready to answer questions. We're ready to talk about everything new that's happening with wholesale real estate, and we'll probably dibble and dabble into other things. So let's rock and roll. How are we, fellas?
Jamil, you look sunburned.
Do I? Is that even possible?
I don't know.
Me? I don't. I'm definitely a little browner than I typically am. But yeah, I've been. Dude, every morning I wake up and I drive down to the river over in Calgary here, and I take a beautiful walk along the banks of the river, and it's just incredible. Beautiful, beautiful sun, the trees, the people, the puppies, all of it. It's an incredible way to start your day. So I've been enjoying that, and I've been getting some heat here because it's the hottest week I think we've had in Calgary, Alberta in a long time. It's we don't usually hit temperatures of 90 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been that way for the last week. It's just starting to cool down again. It's so hot here that you would actually need AC, when typically in Calgary you wouldn't need AC. They don't have AC in my building, so I'm like, that's why I got the old school fans going over here. But yeah, it's been fun, man.
That's Kalispell. Usually you don't need AC, but it's a little warm right now.
Yeah,
it's your AC crank, Pace.
Yeah, it's I walked outside and then I immediately walked back inside. So yeah.
How is it in Arizona right now, Brent? What's the temperature like?
Really chilly. Yeah, I just had a hoodie on. I was sitting outside most of the day. Obviously, no, it's a billion degrees. Yeah, it's a billion degrees.
Billion degrees.
And they say, what's it like living in Arizona? And it's like, have you ever been cremated? Right? You know what I mean?
It does feel like that. It does feel like that.
It's hilarious.
We've got a good question here. You want to jump into a little bit of Q&A today?
Let's
go bananas.
Okay, Ed is asking a creative finance question. He says, can you buy a property with high equity using subject to, and how? It's ironic that Jerry is on the channel today, and so am I. We worked out, I think, one of the most beneficial deals between two people on the planet. I bought Jerry's house 3 summers ago for $3 million. He had a remaining mortgage of $1.2 million. And I think the interest rate is 2.9%. So I bought that subject to 1.2. And then Jerry had $1.8 million in equity that I pay him a lot of money every month towards. I was so happy to do so because when Jerry receives the 25, I pay him 25 grand a month towards his equity. When he receives that equity every single month, he
goes to Costco.
He only pays 4% taxes on that 25 grand because of where he lives, which is freaking awesome. So yeah, that is a deal. It's called a hybrid. You do subject to on the first position, and then you create a second lien position for the seller's equity, similar to the house that I'm in right now. Here's a little bit of Montana for you guys. If you look really hard through those trees and towards that mountain, that's Jerry Lake, where Jerry is currently sitting right now, about 2 miles through those trees. I bought this house for $3.7 million, $1 down, and the seller had $2 million subto loan and $1.7 million in equity, and I structured it a very similar way. We call this a hybrid. Jerry's done it a bunch of times. I do it all the time. I probably do 2 or 3 of them per month. So not always does a seller with a subject to, they sell to you on subject to, not always are they in pain. Sometimes they just want the number they want, and they recognize.
And Pace, I'd add to that. Sometimes your total price, when you add the loan you take over plus your entry fee, that total number might be more than the current value of the property. I do that all the time because price is like way down on the list of priorities when you're taking over a loan. So sometimes you don't even create a second position note for the equity. Sometimes it's just your total price you're into the deal for is over the current value. And that makes a lot of sense in some cases.
What?
Yes.
No way. You got to get a deal every time, Jerry. What are you talking about?
Oh,
I mean,
that's
it is
a deal.
a different mindset. Definitely a different mindset. Yeah.
It's the best deal. It's the best kind of deal. It is. Here, let me pop this up real fast. We'll do a little mathematics for everybody for a second. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Let's say I go out and right now I buy a house using the BRRRR strategy, and I go buy this house. Notice I'm missing an R because I disagree that it should have the word repeat at the end. I think that the BRRRR strategy should be spelled this way because the BRRRR strategy sucks. Okay.
Just do it one time only.
You just do it one time, you run out of money. Basically, that's what ultimately happens. But let's say that you go do the BRRRR strategy.
Wait. Maybe keep the R there, Pace, and it's just run out of money.
Retire? Yeah, run out of money. Okay, I like that. I like that too.
The last R is run out of money.
Run out of money. So when you are doing the BRRRR strategy, you're actually going to a bank, and that bank is going to give you right now 7.5 minimum, probably closer to like a 9% interest rate when you're doing an investor rate, not a homeowner rate. So you're going to get 9% interest on a house right now. Let's say the average home in America right now, I don't have to say this is true. The average home in America right now is $431,000. So let's just take the average home of $431,000 at 7.5% interest. We'll take the lower one of the two. Which one would you rather have? That guy's scenario or me and Jerry go and buy a house subject to, and the average house in that neighborhood is 431, but we pay 475 for that thing, but we get a 3% rate. And more importantly, the knucklehead that's using the BRRRR strategy that's putting 20 to 30% down over here, we over here on subject to land are putting anywhere between 5 to maybe 8% down that we can actually use of somebody else's money, and there's no bank involved, right? So who got a better deal? Who got a better deal?
In all honesty, when you actually look at an amortization table and you see how little of your money is going to principal for so long, for almost the entire front end of the mortgage, right? The entire front end of the mortgage, by paying $475 and getting a 3% loan. I mean, honestly, you could pay $500, you could pay $550, you could pay $600, and you'll still do better than $431 at 7.5%.
Yeah, I'll give you another good scenario. So there was a TTP student a couple of years ago that, is out cold calls an RV park down in Yuma, Arizona. The RV park ARV was $400,000. This TTPer could not get this price any lower than $400,000. The seller wanted the ARV, right? Surprise, surprise. This is what sellers want. They look up Zillow, they look at whatever, they get an agent that tells them whatever. This was the number in the seller's mind. Did not matter that it was run down. Did not matter that it needed work. And so the TTP student's like, dude, I'm kind of stuck, right? I got this lead. This guy's motivated. He wants to retire. What do you want to do? And I said, I'll buy that deal. I want it on seller finance with no down payment. So the TTPer gets Pace and the seller on the phone. I end up buying this deal at $575,000, no money down, $0 down, and no interest. So
why would you go up so much, Pace? You know what I mean?
Because that's what the seller wanted. The seller wanted, he says, if I'm going to do $0 down, why would I do that? And I said, because I'll give you the number you want. What number do you want? And he said, go to 500. I go, great. Then I want principal only payments. He goes, for that, I do 575. I go, done. Let's do it. He's like, you're telling me I could have gone to 600? I'm like, probably. You probably could have. Because let's think about this. The guy who buys this same property for $400,000, even with a good rate, 4% rate, I will pay less money at $600,000, 0%, than the guy who bought it for 400 at 4%.
Yep.
And so the reality is the better deal is here. And what Jerry was just talking about is that Jerry hit it right on the head. When you're talking about terms, there are 4 terms out there that mainly matter, right? 4 terms. What are they? They are purchase price. They are down payment. They are interest rate, and they are length of time. Okay. And these things work out. You're like, well, what about the payment, Pace? Well, these actually work out the payment. This is where the payment equation comes from. So of course, that's kind of by default. And when you're looking at this series of importance of things that the seller cares about, the seller cares about these things in this order. I actually care about them in a completely different order. I care about them as number 1, my rate. Number 2, my down payment. Number 3, my length of time. And number 4, purchase price. So the reality is creative finance is pretty powerful because what I care about the least.
Is that your order, Pace?
That's my order. Yeah.
Okay.
Interest rate is always first because interest rate dictates my payment, right? Interest rate dictates my payment. Purchase price times interest rate, that becomes my payment. So
entry fee is not necessarily your biggest driver. And for new investors, it is. But because
they haven't learned how to raise money.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would add entry fee too if you're wholesaling creative. So we wholesale a lot of creative, and entry fee becomes a big
sticking
deal.
point.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is like the creative finance like community, which is primarily me, Jerry, and the subto community. That's basically the creative finance community. They get really spoiled, to be honest, right? It's so funny because you look at all the bird turds, the birds, whatever we want to call them. We look at these birds, and these bird turds are so used to paying 20, 30% down and having to have, because here's what the reality is. Very few people ever do the bird strategy and get all their money out on a deal. Okay. You've got sunk capital in almost every single bird deal that you'll do. And they get spoiled. They're used to 20 to 30%. But what's funny about creative finance people is we're very used to this number. That's
why, Pace, honestly, like when I'm wholesaling a sub-2 creative finance deal, if it's a burr guy, oh my gosh, I can put the best deal together and get a massive assignment fee because they're comparing that creative deal to a burr deal. And I'll beat them out every time, like hand over fist. I take it to a creative finance Pace Morby student, and they're like, they want an 8 to 10% entry fee total, including the assignment fee. Like they're hard to sell to because they're just so smart and educated. Yeah. And they're not used to their options aren't creative or burr. Their options are creative or creative, like they got
and their options are I can buy a deal from you, or I can just make the phone call and get a better deal myself type of thing. Right. Yeah. And so that is the challenge. However, okay, there's another couple of good questions here for creative finance. We'll jump into some other, man, you guys got some great questions today.
Pace, answer this Mike Lovett's question, because hopefully he got the answer with what you just said. Called an agent today.
I don't see it, Mike. Okay, that's the one I was going to go for. Okay, which loans can be transferred via sub-2? The easier question is what loans cannot be. Okay, what loans cannot be transferred via subject to? I'll make it really simple on you. Very, very, very simple. All loans can be done subject to. Now, here is your caveat. Some title companies will say, we won't do FHA or VA. Cool. Then switch your title company, go to a different title company. Easy. Simple. Okay. If you guys ever wonder where you can open up title, go email Molly at pacemorby.com, and she will tell you what title companies in each state will do FHA and VA loans. Okay. We can do SBA.
I can think of a loan, Pace, that you wouldn't want to take over.
Now, the question is not what you don't want to take over. The question is, what can you take over? And I think what you're going to go to, the ones you want to stay away from, I think Jerry's going to go to hard money loans.
Yeah.
You do want to stay away from this typically because this is typically a flipper that has a house. He's in way over his head and he's going, dude, take over my hard money loan and take this project. And so it's actually not even the hard money loan you're worried about. It's what are the problems? What are the skeletons in this guy's fix and flip that you have to go in and take over that maybe his contractor screwed up or whatever? And by the way, his hard money loan, his lender is probably 7 months behind on interest. And so you've got like this massive freaking tidal wave of arrears.
Huge.
So, but I would say 1 out of 25 that I see is
Also,
actually a good deal. And the flipper, the reason why they're selling it via subject to is because they're not that the deal is bad, but they got overwhelmed and they bought too many at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Also, I think that Pace, the hard money lenders are going to have a harder time with the sub 2 transfer.
But
right?
here's the thing that a lot of people like. Sub 2 is very surface level. Everybody kind of knows sub 2. If you have a lender that has a problem with your creative structure, there's no lender in the world that can even know that you're buying a house subject to if you don't buy it subject to. And here's what I mean by that. Buy it on an executory contract, land contract, contract for deed, agreement for sale, even a lease option. Like you could do a lease option, really worst case scenario, and no transfer of title is happening. No lender can see that transaction happened. It goes through a title company. You're protected the same way. I know Jerry just up the road, a property I pass almost every day here in Kalispell. Jerry bought that on a contract for deed. And the seller actually wanted to sell it on a contract for deed. It's very a Montanian thing. So sub 2.
Is that the duplex, Jerry?
Yeah. In fact, he had a prepayment penalty if I pay it off early.
Yeah, super interesting. So the only loan that I would say you want to stay away from subject to hard money, Jerry's right. 1 out of 25 of those deals is actually a deal. The other 24 times.
Pace, I would say with hard money, it's not so much that it's hard money because, if there's equity and you get in there and can finish it up, and it's not so much that. What I pay attention to is the balloon payment on that loan. Because hard money loans are typically short term. So if it's a 6-month loan and you're at month 4 and you got 2 months until it's due, you don't want to be taking that loan over if you don't think you can exit out of that deal in time. So because it could be a great deal still, even though it's at a 12% rate, it could be a phenomenal deal that you would like to take over. So, usually not, but it could be. So, but I'm not really concerned so much about that as I am about, okay, when's this loan due? And can I do the deal in that allotted time left?
Yeah. This is a really great question, Joel. Really great question. Why is FHA or VA a little bit challenging with title companies? The reason being is because VA is a protected class of borrowers. FHA is also another protected class of borrowers. And these are government programs that are helping buyers get into properties. So here's what happens. Title companies make mistakes frequently. This is why we have title insurance, okay? So when a title company makes a mistake on a traditional mortgage, it's fine, it's fixable, and nobody gets pissed off. You can go back and fix it. When somebody makes a mistake on an FHA or a VA loan, the VA is pissed off or the FHA is pissed off, and they say, we are going to revoke your ability to do VA and FHA loans in the future. Now think about the significance of that. If a title company loses their ability to do FHA closings, that's probably 30-40% of their entire business is FHA and VA loans. So do you think any company wants to go, okay, I'm the owner of a title company. I know my human beings, right? Escrow officers are human beings, at least for the next 10, 15 years. I don't really want to run the risk of my title and escrow company making a mistake on a sub 2 FHA or a sub 2 VA loan, because then I could not just get my hand slapped, I could lose my entire ability to do those types of transactions, therefore losing my lake house in Kalispell, right? So it's not their entire business, but it's a significant portion. So a lot of title companies, it's not illegal. They just make the decision, you know what? I don't have great escrow officers in this office, and I don't trust these knuckleheads to handle these types of transactions. Therefore, we're going to make a blanket statement. We don't do FHA or VA loans. And so what you do is you find the Eileen Browns of the world. You find the Danielle Pendergrasses of the world. You find the people that have been doing FHA and VA loans for a very, very long time, that actually is their bread and butter. And if I could get everybody to download a little microchip in their brain to understand some really weird nuances in the industry, not all title companies are the same. Not all title companies are the same. There are title companies that literally, you could go like Fidelity. I know Jamil works with Fidelity. You could go to one Fidelity office. They do mostly refinances. You go to another Fidelity office 2 miles down the street, and they do mostly investor loans. And so it's not even based on the title company. It's based on the escrow officer at that branch. And so title and escrow is very much a personalized relationship. The people that are good at building relationships, you have an advantage. I text my title reps and I text my escrow officers and go, this file needs to close tomorrow. And they will literally put other people's files on hold to make sure my file closes. That's the advantage of understanding that little, secret. You don't really know that until year 2, maybe year 3 in the business, is that is a relationship that you should have in your pocket.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. Spencer Hunter says, y'all are going to have a ball at community camp. While I see it, I can build my house before snow flies. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. But Jerry, I saw you guys working on the property today for community camp. We've been working on ours over here. See, we've been letting the weeds grow in the back pasture. So that's great. There you go. I learned how to turn my garage into passive income. Amazing.
Awesome.
OnlyFans has been out for quite a while, bro. I'm surprised that it took you that while to catch on. No, not a good joke. Okay. All right. So there's somebody asked a really great question.
Can I ask the question, Pace? Go back to your list of 4 there.
Absolutely.
So number 1 is interest rate, right?
Uh-huh.
What happens when they want current interest rates? What knob do you turn?
I will tell, this is a great question. And so I'm not by no means, and I will answer this, but out of 100 calls and 100 sellers I talk to, I would be surprised if one of them wanted me to even match the current interest rate, because now we're not talking about subject to, we're talking about seller finance, right? We're talking about a completely different seller.
Why do you think that is, Pace? Why is that?
They're the same reason why they don't even know what subject to or seller finance what it is.
Well, you were talking about a hybrid deal where you still have a loan with the former owner, right?
Yeah.
Are they looking for interest on their equity?
Very rarely.
Okay.
Very rarely are they. Here's like the last deal I just closed. Actually, I'm collaborating with Graham Stephan. It was kind of a cool story. I go on his podcast. It gets like 600,000 views on his YouTube channel. There's a guy named Gordon, joined Subto because of that podcast, goes and buys 15 rentals in like 9 months, all using, the system and the program, right? He then DMs Graham Stephan, is like, thank you so much. I just retired my mom, blah, 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 blah. Kind of a cool story. Graham's like, whoa, dude, like you're actually doing this and people are actually doing this. I thought you were honestly like full of crap. And I go, let's do one together. I'll show you. Let's do one together. He's like, and I've sent him 10, 15 deals. And finally, after a year and a half since that podcast, he finally says, yes, I'll do a deal with you. That deal closes on the 16th, which is tomorrow. Okay. That deal closes tomorrow. It's a deal where the seller's in foreclosure. She does have a lot of equity. She has like $110,000 in equity. And I'll tell you what happened. She hired an agent. She says, I'm in a bad situation. I can't keep making this payment. She actually was running it as an Airbnb, but she's not an investor. And so it's been poorly managed. She's been losing money. And she took her original house she lived in for 20 years, renovated it with a home equity line of credit. She is hemorrhaging money on her payment. And she says, I need to list this. She goes and lists it. Still, even after her first position sub-2, her second position home equity line of credit that she used to renovate, she still has $100,000 plus in equity. And she can't sell it. Can't sell it. Keep lowering the price. Agent can't sell the deal. Why? Because the market's slow right now and everybody's buying things at 7.5% to 8.5% interest. And even if we lower interest rates to 6.5%, I still think the market's going to be a little bit slow. I think we got to go under 6% for the market to really speed up to like an unrecognizable level. And so when I reach out to her, it was an expired listing, my favorite list to call. Expired listing. I reach out to the seller. She says, yes, I'll sell it to you sub 2. She wasn't even smart enough to tell me she had a home equity line of credit. In her mind, okay, this is how uneducated sellers are. They've only bought one house. She thought that when she got a home equity line of credit, they just redid her first original loan.
Wow.
Welcome to real estate. Welcome to sellers. Like 99% of sellers you talk to don't know what title and escrow even means. They don't know what escrow officer means. They don't know what purchase and sale agreement is. They have no idea what these words are that we throw out there. And so when I rehearse and I listen to other people's calls and I hear them say subject to a seller, or even seller finance to a seller, or purchase and sale agreement to a seller, I'm like, this is why your seller's not selling to you. They are confused by the words you're saying. They're like, how are they confused? I'm like, because they're not investors. So when I got through to her, I said, hey, I'd be happy to just take over your existing payments, put some money in your pocket, maybe even make money, maybe even pay you some monthly payments on your equity. And she says, okay, great. What does that look like? And what I told her is the same thing I tell every seller. I said, in order for me to give you the number you want, I have to be able to cash flow on this property.
Right.
And with your first lien position, guess what? She didn't know what lien position was. So do you think I used the word lien position? I said, no. What I said is your first payment and combined with your second payment, she didn't even know she had a second payment, like quite literally. This is a lot of sellers. I know this is a long-winded answer, but I'm giving you guys the full answer. So I had to educate her, like, you have a home equity line of credit. Pace, how do you know that? Well, we opened escrow, right? We did the purchase and sell agreement. I said, hey, let's pull title. Let's make sure things are clean. Find out she has a HELOC. She has no idea. Okay, no problem. So when we structure the payment to her, I said, here's what I need, Sherilyn. I need a year of no payments to you in order for me to get the property up and going and really rent it out at the number I need, make sure that I'm good to go. And once I hit the year mark, I will start making $300 monthly payments to you. It wasn't for like 3 weeks that she even asked me, hey, is there any interest in that? Because I set up every set up every seller payment to their equity as principal only. I don't even talk about interest rates. I just say, here's your number. I'll pay you $300, $500. And the question is, how much money would you like to receive monthly to make this worth your while? I don't talk about interest rates for their equity ever. I let them.
Why is it number one though? You have interest rate number one. That's what I'm confused about. Wouldn't payment be number one? And I know that it's
interest rate dictates my payment.
Not if you don't. If you're just telling them a flat payment you're willing to give them.
That is correct. But isn't that 0% interest? So it goes right back to my point.
No. You can amortize it over 1,000 years if you want.
You could
a certain amount, right? So
right, but here's what you're talking about. You're talking about the seller finance equity, right? I'm at 0% interest. So again, it's the same exact thing. Whatever her payment is to her, I don't care what the payment is. It's 100% principal only.
I'm just being devil's advocate because the questions that come up all the time is like, what interest rate do I offer the property owner on their equity, right?
You don't.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
You don't. If you want to shoot yourself, I've watched probably more than 10,000 calls of students of mine rehearse in live role play. Yes, that's part of it, but also like just tons of live calls and then recordings, and they share them with me. And I listen and I'm like, you shouldn't have offered interest rate. A confused mind
freaks them out, right?
No. Yep. A confused mind says no every time. So you don't bring that up, right? It's like when Jerry asked his wife, I want to marry you. He didn't immediately say, I want to have 10 kids. He eased into it, guys. Okay. You don't go for the 10 kids right out of the gate. You ease into it. So
one at a time.
You don't bring that up on the first date. Hey, I want to have 10 kids. Unless you're Mormon, I guess that does work.
That's what I'm doing wrong. I got it.
Yeah. And Robin's right. Like Robin's, I've done a couple of deals with Robin. Robin's seen thousands of deals in our subto Facebook group pop up. And what will happen is you'll see a ton of 0% seller finance deals in subto. And it's the reason being is because we give the seller the number they want. We don't even bring up interest. When we send over the promissory note for them to sign, it says principal only payments. We will never bring up the word interest. Right. Okay. And usually when a seller does bring up interest to me, what I will say is I go, look, that makes my brain hurt. I'd rather give you a guaranteed number that if I sell this or refinance this, all your profit is guaranteed in the purchase price rather than praying and hoping that it is included in some future interest that may or may not even exist. So why don't we just put a chunk of money into the purchase price, set it up as principal only, and you now have a guaranteed chunk of money that you make money on. Now, this gets complicated because what if I have an end buyer that wants to buy the deal for me and I'm wholesaling it or I'm wrapping it? That's a different story. 90% of what I'm doing, I'm holding. So for me, I have no intention of holding these properties. And by the way, I'm going to tell everybody something that you all need to hear. Cash flow is for children. Nobody gets rich on cash flow. Nobody. No, I'm going to say this again. Nobody gets rich off cash flow. Here's how we get rich. We get rich by not paying 40% of our income to taxes. That's how I get rich. First and foremost, I keep my money. Second way I get rich is inflation. I've got 100 properties. Quite literally, I have 100 properties that all have at least $100,000 in equity in them. That's $10 million in money. That's my entire retirement if I wanted to. None of that came from cash flow. None of it came from cash flow. So
what about debt pay down, bro?
Debt pay down's humongous. But again, it doesn't kick in a lot of like what Jamil talked about. Debt pay down doesn't really have any significance until like year 7 or 8 on a brand new loan. Yeah. Unless I get 0% interest, then it kicks in immediately. So like that mobile home park that I bought in Yuma, that thing makes me, my payment to the seller is $7,500 a month. That is 100% going down. I'm netting into my net worth is going up $7,500 a month because I'm paying that seller down. So all day long, I'm shooting for principal only on the seller finance equity.
Yep.
Kyle, by the way, he's been in the business 16 years, great leader in subto. He is here in Arizona. He said, I just signed closing documents today for 2 0% seller finance deals that close tomorrow. I explained exactly this way, never spoke about interest. So great leader. He's closing 2 deals in Surprise today and 2 deals in Utah, I think next week as well. And so a lot of people in the subto community are primarily going after principal only payments. And the whole thing about like subto, if your seller is worried about, there's another really great question, common question that pops up. How do I explain to a seller when they are worried about their payment staying in their name or their loan staying in their name? How do I overcome that? First and foremost, this is not the great answer for you, but it is truly the answer. How many times do you think Jerry or I, confident men on the phone talking about subto to a seller, have the seller overly worried about the payment staying in their name? 1 out of 10 times, maybe 1 out of 30, probably. When I first started, it was like 3 out of 10. And the reason being is because my level of confidence and my ability to tell story. And also identifying a seller who's in pain, right? If a seller's not in pain, foreclosure, expired listing, long days on market, right? When you're working with real estate agents, if they're not already in pain and you're doing a subto offer on the 10th day that they've been on the market, you're going to run into a lot more objections than the seller that's been on the market for, like, here's a good example. Let's go to Crexy. I love this example on Crexy because if you go to Crexy right now, for those of you guys that don't know Crexy, it's gangster. For those of you that aren't just doing single family properties, let's go to Crexy. Let's look up owner finance and check this out. You will see so many businesses, RV parks, laundromats, everything on Crexy on owner finance. Check this out. Let's just pull this one up. This has been on the market for 20 days. Is this person going to have more objections than the person that's been on the market for maybe, let's pull up another
3
one.
years?
Yeah, I bet you this one.
Some of them are, dude.
157 days. All right. You're going to have a lot less objections right here, my friends. Right. And there are some of them, Brent's right. You'll find some that will be like 800 days. Look at this.
Wow.
Bro, there's stuff on Crexy that these people, this car wash is great. This is a good one. Watch this. 724 days. Okay.
105 days since last update. Like these guys have kind of given up at some level, right?
Yeah. Steve Beaver's been chomping at the bit to try and sell this deal. All right. I'm telling you. And so you have conversations with them And here's the difference between an agent that you talk to, and I don't do as much agent outreach as Jerry and Jamil do. I prefer to go direct to seller. I'm way more Brent Daniels. Okay. I'm way more Brent Daniels. And I think Jerry is probably heading a lot more that way with his Joe Home Buyer franchises, is that he's going way more direct to seller. But when you're talking to an agent on the 10th day of their listing, they're going to flat out lie to you and say, my seller's not interested in seller finance. What are they actually saying when they say that?
I don't know how to talk about it.
I don't know how to talk about it. And I think if you are offering payments, that means I'm not getting my commission. Okay. I did a live on Saturday and I had an agent come on and ask a question. He says, why would I sell to you subject to or seller finance if I could just extend my listing another 6 months and just get a cash offer? I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying. You think that if me or Jerry or somebody in the subto community buys your property subto or seller finance, we're not paying your commission? And he goes, yeah, how does the seller get any money to pay me? I'm like, we pay that commission. Okay. In that typical situation, 90% of the time, the buyer will pay your commission on a subto or seller finance deal, or might even be 2% instead of 3%. Right. And I said, here's what you just said. You said, I'd rather hope and pray that the seller lets me extend after failing for 6 months and get a cash offer than I would get paid today at 2%. And he goes, yeah, because I didn't know that I get paid in a creative finance offer. We pay the seller's commission or the agent's commission in a no down scenario. I've done a lot of no money down things, but I borrow money from a gator to pay for the seller's commission or the agent's commissions. So agent gets paid in that situation. So here's the question. 10th day on market. It could be on Crexy. They have the filter turned on of owner finance. I reach out to that agent today and say, no money down, principal only. No, my seller's not interested in that. 745 days later, what's the answer?
What are you proposing?
Yeah, exactly. Great. This is what he says to us on Saturday. We called that guy at the car wash. And he says, my seller's accepting any and all offers. So there's a massive, and I see a lot of people that will say, and I think this is a great topic for us to bring up. I see people that are just trying to get into this business. What they're doing is just aimlessly calling like a high equity list, and there's no indication of any sort of pain, right? They're not in foreclosure. It's not an absentee owner. It's not a tired landlord. They don't own a cat. By the way, everybody that owns a cat is just gross. I'm one of those people now. We own 2 cats. So I'm a gross person. I mean, look at Batch. Batch has a cat filter, like a pet animal filter, right? You're filtering for pain. And so I see brand new people just having a VA call people that just have equity. And I'm just aimlessly calling people, guys, identify pain as deep as you possibly can. I'd rather have 10 people to call that I know are in foreclosure than 1 million people to call that are just random human beings that don't have any indication of pain.
Yeah.
And so I go for pain. And I have people that reach out to me and go, hey, I'm driving around. I'm on Zillow and I'm driving around. I'm looking at deals. What should I be looking for? I'm like, how much time do you have right now to tell me how stupid this is? You're driving around on market listings on Zillow looking for a deal. How do we know they're in pain? These are brand new houses that have been flipped. Like, people will look at a brand new house that's been flipped on Zillow and be like, how do I get this seller to reduce their price? What? Right. So I think that's just what happens when you're brand new. You don't know that you have to go after pain. I'm not going to just any old house, 123 Main Street, and just knocking on the door and saying, hey, I want to buy your house. I'm going to look for a person that has a painful situation that I have tools to fix. Whether that's a convenient lowball cash offer. By the way, I don't think lowball cash offers are a bad thing. It's it's time and speed. It's convenience, right? Those sellers need that convenience. So foreclosure, dude, they have a ticking time bomb. Start there. If you have never done a deal before, here's the three lists I would reach out to. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong on this. If you have no money for postcards, PPC, PPL, BBLs, if you're not into BBLs, Jamil knows what a BBL is. Jerry doesn't know what a BBL is. This is great. I love it. It's so good. Jerry needs to listen to more gangster rap, and he'll know what a BBL is.
Brazilian butt lift, Jerry.
It's a Brazilian butt lift, Jerry.
Butt.
Okay. Thanks.
So
I learned something tonight.
If you don't have money for those things and you're going to go and hand dial stuff, right? You're going to go TTP. I'm going to choose my time and energy to be as efficient as humanly possible. And I think the 3 lists that I'm reaching out to, does not matter what the economy is doing. Doesn't matter if Trump is about to, get shot. Doesn't matter if Biden is stumbling over. Who cares who the president is? Who cares what the Fed is doing? Who cares about anything? These 3 lists will always be effective. Foreclosure, expired listings, and long days on market with real estate agents. Those 3 lists are tried and true, no matter what the economy is doing, up, down, left, or right. Those lists work every time. Do you guys have any other lists that people could go after that work all the time?
Yeah. I think, on market, high day on market is a great list as well, right? Just you've got age, you've got time, you've got motivation. For me, that's a great opportunity to have a conversation and at least open the door.
Yeah,
Jerry,
ugly houses.
Ugly houses. Okay, I love that.
Yep.
There was this statistic that Jerry or Brent said a couple of years ago. He said something like 70% of people that get their first deal do it by driving for dollars.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy high. Like you see an ugly house, you call
for direct to owner for sure. I mean, it might be higher, but I mean the people that focus on agents, it's a incredible strategy as well, which kind of is leads into Pace, because foreclosures being such a great list. I think a lot of people in Pennsylvania are going to get in real hot water because of what Jerry has named the Screw Wholesalers Act that just passed in Pennsylvania. And I think it's really important to talk about it for wholesalers because it essentially makes our contracts useless. I mean, literally useless. So, Jerry, you want to kind of open that can of worms?
By the way, that was signed into law July 8th. So now the clock starts in 6 months. So what is that, January 8th? That will go into effect. So, yeah, I mean, part of that law was very similar to what is the trend right now, which is the pattern that happens is the Real Estate Commission defines wholesaling. So they write up their own definition of what wholesaling is. Usually they write it very poorly. So we're all sitting there like, oh, well, can we double close? Can we not double close? What can we do? Can we do innovation? There's like this area there where we think we can kind of create loopholes around it. But they define wholesaling. And then they say, if you're going to engage in wholesaling, we're going to consider that brokering, which means now if it's brokering, you have to have a real estate license. And then the latest trend, like this year, is then they add disclosure. So in Pennsylvania, the disclosure is you have to let the seller know in writing that you're a wholesaler and you intend to wholesale the property. You have to say they have the right to an appraisal. You have to say, there's a third one. You have to let them know that they have the right to cancel their contract, which we'll get to in a second. And you have to tell them that they have 10 days to get reimbursed any money. That's kind of odd for a seller, but it might apply to a cash buyer because this is contracts on either way. So this could be with your seller or with your cash buyer. So those are the 4 disclosures that you have to let people know in the contract. So that would be the seller or the cash buyer. And so let's now talk about that cancel the contract. So what it says, if you provide proper disclosure, the seller for any reason at all can cancel the contract for up to 30 days or close of escrow, whichever happens first. If you don't properly disclose, the seller can cancel at any time. So if your closing was after 30 days, they could cancel it for any reason. Either way, for any reason, the seller can cancel. So yeah, Brent, you're right. Like that means your legally binding contract is useless. Like it has no value.
Well, you made a great point in your video on your YouTube channel, Jerry. It's like, well, as soon as you send it out to your cash buyers, what's to stop them from being, that's their number one list. They'll just take everybody else's wholesale deals, go to the house and be like, hey, listen, what'd they offer you? I'll give you 10 grand more every time.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? And it won't even be sneaky.
Yeah. It's legal. Yeah. It's not sneaky. It's legal.
It'll just be part of the game. You know what I mean? And I can see that. I don't know how, I don't know why they threw that in there. I assume just to kind of close the,
close
wholesaling in that state.
Like what the other states did, like Oregon, Iowa, they also have that. They have like, if you don't properly disclose, the seller can cancel. But that's if you don't properly disclose. Pennsylvania took the stance, we don't care if you disclose or not, they can cancel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they literally shot you in the foot.
Under what circumstances though, Jerry? Is it
Any.
Yeah, but so like as long as you have another contract, like what's the trigger that says they can cancel it? Like you're a buyer, right? Say you're buying and there's no trigger. You haven't sent an assignment in, you're planning to maybe, take it down or double close it or whatever. They've got no
Intent.
They can't see the marketing.
Intent.
Like
So this is where it's going to get messy in Pennsylvania, is the way it's written is intent. Now, how is intent defined? Intent is defined. There's a couple ways you can look at intent. Intent is what's your behavior, your past behavior. So if you're an active wholesaler and that's what you do for a living, and you're not going to get away with saying, oh, well, I was going to buy it and then I wholesaled it at the last minute. That ain't going to fly. And then the other one is, which I did not talk about in my video, but the other one is, do you have the means to take it down? So anybody can say, oh, I was going to buy it, but you actually have the means. And can you prove that you have the means? And do you have a history of taking down properties? So if you've never taken down a property, you don't have the money, either access to money or money in the bank to take it down, you won't be able to make that argument that you were going to buy it and then wholesaled it.
Does getting a license actually matter in this situation?
No.
Well, you have to have your license too, but what's the point of that? I mean, what's it matter there either?
Chris,
So,
I'll
yeah,
give you a call. I'll give you a call, Chris, tomorrow, and we'll discuss a strategy for this because he's in the Rhino tribe. But you got to close. I mean, you got to close and then and then put it back on. What do you call it, Jerry?
I call it takedown, where you just
takedown method.
And his whole
A typical wrestler says that kind of stuff, man.
Takedown, yeah.
He's wrestling with his kid. By the way, I saw your kids throw you in the river, bro. You ain't taking anybody down. Your kids throwing you around.
Dude, my kids beat me up. It's not fair. I need reinforcements.
Tides have turned. Yeah.
Tides have turned. So it doesn't matter if you have a license. You should. It's saying that you need to have a license.
Well, let's be clear. If you're going to wholesale, you have to have a license.
That's it.
Okay, so I can wholesale if I have a license and if I disclose to the seller that I'm wholesaling.
And if you're okay that the seller, for any reason whatsoever, can back out of the contract within 30
Which
days.
is crazy to me that just another wholesaler could come along and just offer $5,000 more.
There's three things. A wholesaler could backdoor you. A cash buyer could go direct and backdoor you. Or how many times does your cash buyer change his mind because he found a better deal before closing?
Okay, so hold on. Let me get this straight, because I when I read your post the other day, I was waiting for this live. So thank you for this. You, as a licensed agent, disclose to the seller that you are going to wholesale. That is what gives them the right to cancel up until you close escrow. However, if I'm just a straight up buyer, I don't disclose, and I actually intend to close escrow and do the takedown method, they don't have the ability to cancel at any time.
Nope.
Done. Easy. Pennsylvania
or a license. You don't need a license either.
Guys.
If you're going to buy the property, you do not need a license and you do not need to disclose, because you're not wholesaling, you're buying it.
Okay.
That's it.
Guys,
Yeah, you got to buy it.
They're not stopping anybody.
No.
Here's the gray area, and I don't have the answer to it, is can you double close? Now, I don't think the way it's written, it seems like you can by the way it's written. But again, why are they passing these laws and how are they going to enforce the law? Because what it says in the definition of wholesaling is that the end sentence says prior to owning the property. And that seems to be the big issue here, is any of these methods, whether it's a novation, an assignment, or a double
agreement
close,
for sale, installment payments, whatever.
if you're trying to transact before you actually own the property, that's what they're after. Now, can we get away with a double close? I don't know. I mean, litigation will say, case law will say what happens there. But my perception is, whether it's an assignment or a double close, wholesaling is wholesaling, and they don't want that. In fact, when this bill came out, it was National Association of Realtors put together a task force, a specific task force for this bill. And then 250 licensed agents, NAR agents, showed up when it was being voted in the House. 250 agents showed up to support this bill and support the senators.
Zero wholesalers showed up, guaranteed.
Zero. I mean, what? Yeah, are you kidding? right?
This
So
is like the witch hunt that that goes on in politics. It's like if we can't stop the guy, let's go create some political warfare, get him into court. They can't defend themselves, and let's just go on a witch hunt to get them to slow down. Like they're just trying to slow down investors like us because agents.
NAR is kicking wholesalers' asses right now, state by state.
Yes.
I mean, we're getting our asses kicked
yes.
right now. They're organized. They put a task force together. They go to the senators in their state and they put together all this stuff for them. They basically hand deliver regulation to state senators. Most of these state senators that they get to introduce these bills are real estate people. So they're all on board for it. You know what I mean? Like they're just annihilating wholesaling, and they're going to keep doing it.
Well, Jerry, we all sat in the same room in this building over there 3 years ago, and we wanted to put together our own task force, which is just a cool phrasing. That's just powerful, isn't it?
It sounds like tactical, like camouflage.
You feel like you're like, yeah, like that's real serious task force. It's just some dudes eating over lunch, and nobody wanted it. Actually, not only did nobody want it, Jerry, you got a lot of shade thrown at it. A lot of shade thrown.
I still do. Yeah.
And now the regulations are going to come, and now it's going to get to the point where in most states, if not all, you're going to have to buy these properties. You're going to have to be really good at building relationships with hard money lenders. You have to be really good at raising funds. You're going to have to learn these skills. And
think about Pennsylvania right now. Like, who in their right mind is going to set up a business model, like a business, not like, oh, I'm going to try to sneak one through, but a real legit business, which is what all of us teach how to do, run a business. Who's going to set up a business where your contract has no validity? Like, why would you?
Crazy.
You just can't.
It is.
But here's the thing I got to ask. Brent was kind of touching on this for a second, Jerry. So give me just a second. Let me ask this question to the audience. If we're going to create an amazing investor, like we're going to mold this person to an amazing investor, we've got this guy. Heck, let's call him Ted. Okay. You've got this guy named Ted, and Ted asks you this question, Jamil, Jerry, Brent. Hey, do I need the ability, if I'm going to be an amazing investor, do I need the ability to value properties and come up with the value of a property? Am I going to need that to be an amazing 10 out of 10 investor?
Absolutely.
Major skill.
Okay, another one. Am I going to need the ability to have funding at some point to be a 10 out of 10 investor?
Yes,
definitely.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that all Ted has to do to get around the PA laws is just become what he should already be anyway. Good at funding and understanding value. Now, one thing I think is going to be really bad, and Jerry, I think you understand this way better than me. So I think what's bad about this is the seller is actually going to get lower prices because these wholesalers are going to go, hey man, Brent Daniels, who gets an average of $27,000 on an assignment fee, I need that $27,000 assignment fee, but I can't do that if I'm going to take it down and resell it 15 days later. I'm going to have to reduce the seller's amount, my offer, by $10,000 to make sure I still make my $27,000.
In addition to that, Pace, the lender is going to want to qualify the deal. And so they're going to be looking at it and saying, hey, I don't think you've got enough room in here to make this make sense to take it down and resell. And so that's going to have downward pressure on pricing as well. So this is actually terrible for the people. It's
going to hurt the really, really desperate situations, which is who we help the most. Like Brent said, like if you're in foreclosure and your foreclosure's, Friday, and you got to fund that deal and you got to get your lenders and you know what I mean? Like you just introduced a whole lot more complication, which we'll handle, but not in the really, really hard situations. And the thing about all of this is like, I look at like how NAR led this bill and everything. And are they going to help these people that wholesalers service? Are they stepping up to like, hey, let's get rid of wholesalers because they're a bunch of dirty, rotten scoundrels, but we'll step in and we'll solve the problem? No, they're not going to solve any problem here. So what's the solution?
It's the miseducation, brother. They are miseducation. They're miseducating the public. They're miseducating the agents. NAR understands exactly what we're doing, and they know who we serve and how we serve them. But they're seeing it as an attack on their profitability at the end of the day. And so it's misinformation. It's giving people the bare minimum, which is what our society is really based on. Give you
Can we talk about the repercussions of this just real quick? Because
Sure.
Raj Singh, who is actually not a U.S. citizen, I'm wondering if any of us are really U.S. citizens. Who knows, man? Who knows? But Raj is like, hey, I've got a visa, and if I get caught wholesaling, first and foremost, I don't know a single person that's actually really gotten in trouble for anything in wholesale, except when they did stupid things like put memorandums on sellers' properties, stuff like that. Even then, you're not going to prison. You're not losing your visa
wholesale,
status.
a short sale.
Wholesale. Oh yeah, wholesale, a short sale. You could go to prison.
Yeah, Jimmy Thornton went away for a minute for that.
Yeah. Okay, I take that back. Jamil is 100% right. But just the act of wholesaling. Let's take Pennsylvania for example. I'm a Canadian citizen, and I'm doing virtual business in America. I'm wholesaling in Pennsylvania. I don't have a license. I do not disclose to the seller. I wholesale a deal. I make $15,000. 90% of the time, something probably is not going to happen. But let's say the 10% of the time it does happen. Jerry, what is the repercussion in these situations with these new laws?
Yeah, I mean, so with most of these states, they can go back and unwind your previous history. Usually there's a slap on the wrist, and if you keep doing it, fines get increased. It can be a misdemeanor. I mean, ultimately, if you keep violating the laws, there's jail time, right? But I think the bigger question here is like, you can do anything until you get caught, but that's not the way we should be approaching the business. Right. And even if we disagree with the laws, like I totally disagree with this law, it doesn't mean I'm going to go violate the law. And I got too much at risk. And there's probably a lot of wholesalers, same with South Carolina, that got nothing to lose. So they're willing to roll the dice. Us in this room, and hopefully everybody listening to this, looks at their life and they look at, what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And they look at it with a whole lot different, foresight than just here and now. If they pass a law, you better follow the law. What galls me, guys, is we have educators in our space that are saying, hey, well, no one's going to enforce it, or, just do it anyway. What's the big deal? No one's going to catch you or whatever.
No.
Crazy.
I cannot even believe.
No, dude.
People would say that.
How have you've heard that, Jerry? That is disgusting.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
Jerry, stop watching my YouTube lives, bro, please.
It ain't Pace. Yeah, I mean, I put a funny post on Instagram where I'm like, hey, you can rob banks because look, I did it and got away with it, right? So it doesn't mean that it's allowed or it's legal or that you're not going to get in trouble or they'll unwind it. I mean, I don't want to do business where I'm looking over my shoulder wondering if I'm going to get busted every day. Who wants to do a business like that?
It's not worth it.
Plus, we're here to elevate the industry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like at the end of, and then you got these turkeys out there that are and that's the issue, right? This is what NAR is going after. This is what the media goes after. It's that kind of ethical framework where there's just it's terrible.
Okay, here's a couple questions in the side chat. Pace, what's the name of your creative finance Facebook group for buying and selling cars, planes, trains, automobiles? I just put in the side chat. The name of it is The Top Method, a sub-2 car community. This is one of our communities. We have 2,400 people in here. You want to find a car? You want to find a boat? You want to find an RV? I bought a plane the other day, a Cessna. It's actually here in Montana. $0 down, 0% interest, $300 a month. I'm renting it out for $3,000 a month. You can get all that stuff in that Facebook group. You can even sell a car sub-2 or seller finance. That link is in the side chat right now. Let's make an educational diss track to, what's tough is what's really interesting is that I've actually never competed on a deal with an agent. Have you guys?
With like in terms of against an agent?
Yeah, like an agent's trying to get the listing and I'm trying to close the deal. No, I've never ran into it. Like, at least that I'm aware of. I feel like the seller either A, has already tried to go through an agent with what I'm doing, or B, the seller's like, I don't want to wait for an agent, or C, the agent comes along and says, you guys got to fix this house before I list this property. What we do is a compliment to agents, and what agents do is a compliment to us. It doesn't make sense that we compete with each other. Now, I talk a lot of smack on agents, mostly to prove a point that I just love working with sellers directly. But I do a lot of deals with agents, and I freaking love them. The agents that get it they make your life so easy. And they understand it. They understand not every house is ready for a listing or should be listed. They understand the circumstance of their seller. They ask the seller the questions like, hey, you want a really high number. Have you thought about maybe doing seller finance? You got to, what's your interest rate on your loan? Those agents that get that and provide those options, or like Monique Walker, who she cold calls expired listings. She's coming to them saying, I'll give you an all cash offer with an investor today, and I'll tell you what I can sell your house for. She's giving them multiple options. Those agents, we love them. The only thing I don't like about agents are the 90% of agents that don't actually know a lot about real estate and go around acting like their 2-week course that they took taught them everything and they can go around and own the industry. Other than that, agents are great. And I wish we could work together a little bit more. The challenge is they're organized and we're not. The type of person that real estate licenses attract are a way more organized human being. Wholesalers and wholesaling attracts the people that are like, I detest any authority. I detest any payments. What are you talking about? $99 a month? Are you joking me? I want to run a business with no money out of my pocket. I want everything for free. That's a typical wholesaler. And so if you try and band together and protect ourselves, like good luck trying to get any wholesalers. Like I remember when we were trying to do the wholesale coalition.
Yeah.
And then I would get DMs from people like, this is just another way for you to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like there was no way to make money there. You couldn't even take it out. It's a nonprofit, guys. This was all for the benefit of the people, and the amount of accusations that came out of that were just ridiculous. And it was from other educators as well, Jerry. It was other educators sending their folks to come and, because they're not trying to get people to elevate the industry either, which is terrible.
Hey,
well,
you got the bell.
Let's be honest, Jamil. It's because they've done 20 deals. They go live on TikTok all day and Instagram all day. They get people into their funnels, and it's going to be tougher to get people into their funnels if there's not as many wholesalers.
If there's friction.
So, I mean, that's what it is. And listen, whatever, but let's just call it what it is. You know what I mean? And so that's fine, or their affiliate or whatever that they want to do. That's cool. But at least let people know where they can and can't do good deals, and let them know what the regulations are. As long as you follow the rules, there's tremendous amounts of other states that you can do this in without a license.
And where I'm going with it all, and I talked to Pace about this the other night when he was over at the house, is, I don't want to see the newbie go away from wholesaling and not have an opportunity. I mean, I was that person too. When I started, I had nothing, started with absolutely nothing and made a life because of wholesaling. So I get it. I think the solution though is not to pretend like it's not happening, not to tell people to just break the law, not any of that, but rather how do we still get access to the tools and the skills that we need? Like Jamil teaching how to comp properties, how do we raise money? How do you get 100% of the money so that you can still do the deal? I think there's a way to where the newer person, I mean, it won't be zero risk, but I think there's a way to mitigate risk and still buy property, resell it, and transition with all of this regulation and still allow for the new person to get into the game and make money. I think we can figure that out.
Yep. I mean, imagine this. If everybody in wholesale woke up on their first day of wholesaling and said, you know what I need? I need somebody to joint venture with that can show me the ropes, that has all the funding, the contractors, the title company, all the relationships, so I can do my first 5 deals with somebody more experienced than me. Oh, wait, that's called Wholesale Hotline. And we've got TT Pierce, the Rhino Tribe, we've got Subto, we've got Astro, we've got Jerry's Lizards, we've got the Flipping Geniuses in the side chat. They're here for you guys. Sam's seeing one of the members of a couple of our communities. He's in the side chat doing 15 deals a month. Okay. Adam Colburn doing multiple deals a month. You've got Kyle Cargus, who just did 4 Subto deals this week. They are in the side chat. You do not need to go and know this stuff on your own. You need to understand that you will never do this without another human being.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Actually, I was really upset that I wore somebody else's brand today. I was looking at the shirt all day long and I was like, how do I make this say something like the creative pace?
It's got to say the Pace face.
Yeah, the Pace face. Yeah.
This is
something
gotta
like that.
say the Pace face.
Okay, Jamil, will you talk about this for a second? What do you mean you can't wholesale a short sale?
Well,
Oh my
Sean,
gosh. Oh my
look,
gosh.
so here's the reality, right? You can wholesale a short sale, but this is what happens when you get a short sale approved. They send what's called a short sale addendum. Now, in that short sale addendum is going to be a list of requirements or a list of stipulations that the bank is going to require that you sign a sworn affidavit to uphold in order for the short sale approval notice to become valid. Now, within that short sale addendum is going to be what they call a deed restriction. And also another stipulation that says that you have not marketed the property prior to closing on the property. So 2 things you can't do. 1, market the contract before you close on it. Number 2, you absolutely cannot sell it prior to holding it for the term of the deed restriction. Now, for the most
Hey,
part,
do you see all these kids that I adopted? Hold on. I'm so sorry, Jamil.
You're good.
I adopted a whole bunch of kids.
Hello,
They
kids.
said they weren't. They said they weren't being fed enough or getting on the water enough over at their other house.
Hey, are those hungry Nortons?
These are hungry Nortons.
The traders.
Hey, Jerry, here's the test. Do you know all their names?
Pace, I got to have a conversation with you because I can't get my kids to work for me anymore because Pace Morby pays them way more than I do.
Do I pay you pretty good? Really? Oh wow! Dude, I was just trying to be nice to you. I didn't want to actually pay them that much. I was trying to be nice to my friend Jerry.
Ignore him.
They're over here to work out in the gym, so don't mind them. But Jamil, keep going. This is a really important topic. I want people to talk about this because I think more short sales are going to start coming up, like big time.
They will. Yeah. The issue is the deed restriction, right? And so there's going to be a deed restriction typically on wholesales now, on short sales now. And it's going to be 30, 60, 90 days. And that means that you got to buy it, hold it for the length of the term of the deed restriction. Now, what people like Jimmy Thornton did, Jim's a nice guy. I've got nothing against the guy. I've known him a long time. You know, he did get 17 years in prison for this. But what he did is he did one of those structures where he sold his company. He bought it in a company name. And then he gave sold the shares of the company to somebody else. And so he used the company as a way to skirt the deed restriction. Now, in addition to that, he was a licensed agent. That caused a few problems, right? But it was skirting the deed restriction. So what ended up happening was real estate agent saw that this fraudulent conveyancing happened, and they reported him to the FBI. FBI looked at it. They said, wait, hold on a second. You sold this property during the deed restriction. He said, no, I sold the company during the deed restriction. They said, nah, same. And so they convicted him and they gave him 17 years in prison for that. So no, you cannot wholesale a short sale. No matter what somebody tells you about selling a company, no matter what somebody says to you about the workaround, in a short sale situation, if there is a short sale addendum with a deed restriction, not all short sales have deed restrictions. That's the other piece. There are banks, there's lending institutions that don't have deed restrictions, and you can wholesale that thing, no problem.
Yeah.
Assign it,
I have
double
one
close
right
it. Yeah, no problem. No problems at all. And so
what about just REO? Because those are bank-owned properties.
REO, you are allowed to wholesale. REO, you can wholesale. Now, the bank won't let you assign an REO,
right.
But what the bank will let you do is a double close. But typically, you're going to need to double close at 2 different title companies because title company 1 won't be able to do the double close because they're going to have to disclose to the seller that another transaction is in place. So you'd have to set up AB with title company 1 and BC with title company 2. But an REO, you can wholesale. A short sale.
And those, Jamil, are usually not going to be same day, next day because
they're not. No.
The second title company is going to take a minute.
They need time. They got to pull a new title report.
Some of those have deed restrictions as well.
For the REOs. Yeah.
For a year.
On the REOs. And so you always got to make sure you're paying attention to deed restrictions because the deed restriction is serious, guys. It's not a suggestion, it's a rule. And when you sign, they actually get you to sign an affidavit, and you're swearing under the penalty of perjury that you're not reselling the house in this time, you're not going to do this in this time. And so that's where the legality issue comes, right? That's
But
where the problem.
What if you don't get caught, Jamil? Can't you do it if you don't?
It doesn't matter. It's unethical. When you sign and say I'm not going to do something and then you do it, that's a lie. And we're not here to lie, right?
Well, what if I'm an active wholesaler in Pennsylvania and I just lie to sellers and everybody and I don't disclose that I'm a wholesaler? I mean, how are they going to know? What if I say that's not my intent? Can I just skirt around the law, Jamil? Can I just lie about what I'm doing?
No, never.
Thank you.
Never is it okay to lie, guys. It's never okay to lie. A real estate agent asks you, are you wholesaling? Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I might, I've been known to, like whatever it is, don't lie. At the end of the day, guys, our ethics, our word means something. It means something. And Jerry has done how many thousands of deals? Brent, how many thousands of deals? Pace, how many thousands of deals? Me, how many thousands of deals? Why are we still here? Because we do it in an ethical way where people are like, yeah, these guys are straight up. They're legit. They do it the right way.
There's people right now in South Carolina saying, look at me. I just did an assignment here in South Carolina and I got away with it. Now they're showing their check, right? But they're redacting everything. So you don't know the address. You don't know what title company it was. You don't know anything. So first of all, it could be a bunch of BS, but let's say it isn't. My question to them is, would you be willing to go in front of the real estate commission in South Carolina and provide them the details of your transaction? Would you show them the title, the attorney you closed with, the property address? Would you show them how much you made and your contracts? Would you be willing to do that? Not one person has come forward yet to do that. But they're pushing out there saying, hey, don't listen to these guys. You can still wholesale. It's totally okay.
I mean, come on, man. Like,
dude,
right? What a terrible way to be walking around the world. What a terrible way to be walking around the world. What kind of person are you? What kind of person are you? You're just running around lying? You're just running around BSing? And then not only that, but that's as stupid to me. The guy who posts that on social media is as dumb as the drug dealer who's sitting there in his house with all the cash on his bed and the weapons on his bed, being a total bonehead. We've seen those, and maybe it's just my feed, but you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Guys, nothing cool about that. There is nothing okay with being a meathead. There's nothing okay with being somebody who's not a productive person following the laws of society. Look, the law gets made. We learn how to live within the law. That's how business people behave. We don't do things.
And if you think it's wrong, then do all the follow all the steps. If you want to be a case study and litigate and fight it, great. If you want to go contact your senators and congressmen and tell them where you stand on it, great. Follow the proper steps. You can't just say, well, it's unconstitutional. I have contract law. I'm going to break the law. That ain't how it works. Whether it's you're right or not, you got to follow the right steps.
Yeah.
Jerry, do you have a list of all the states that we can wholesale in without telling anybody that we're not licensed?
I have a list of all the ones you can't. So then, it'd be the ones that aren't on the list.
And what can you list them off the top of your head?
Probably. Yeah. So you've got Illinois. So here's the better question, I think, Pace, is there's a few different ideas that these regulators are taking, and everyone kind of fits into one of these buckets. And one of them is that marketing a contract for sale is brokering and needs a license. So that's like Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kentucky. There's a handful of states. So that's a little easier to work with because it's okay. Well, how am I marketing my contract to my cash buyers? I got to make sure I do that right, or I have to have a real estate license to do that. The one that's harder is like Illinois, Virginia, Oregon, some of these other states where they say the act of wholesaling, just the act of it is brokering and you need a license. So we don't care how you're marketing your contracts, just doing it in general now requires a license. And then some of the states have also added on top of licensing disclosure. So they want to have disclosure to the sellers that the seller is aware of what you're doing. And then you have the two big ones that are pretty scary are South Carolina, which their intent is to stop it altogether. Like that's what they're after, stopping it altogether. And they're actively enforcing it. So if you talk to any active wholesaler in South Carolina, they know they're under watch right now. They know they're being watched, and they're being very careful because they're on the radar. Like, it's very easy to find an active wholesaler. Just go to join the Facebook groups, join Investor Lift, and they're actively going after these wholesalers in South Carolina. So you're going to get a cease and desist, and then you're going to start getting fines if you're not doing it right. And good luck trying to find a closing attorney in South Carolina that'll do it anyway, because they take on liability too. And then you have Pennsylvania, which we've talked about today. So those are the two kind of scary ones, are those two, because they've taken it kind of like to a whole new level. It's not just about, we want oversight, we want to watch you, we want you to be under our umbrella, we want to license you. But some of these states are now taking a more aggressive approach, like South Carolina and Pennsylvania. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see more and more aggressive legislation come down the line with other states. And the states that were lenient, I think we're going to see them tighten it up too. I think we're going to see some of these states that have been around a little while, like Oklahoma, they were like 2019 when they passed theirs. I think they're going to start revisiting their laws and make them harder too. So it's the trend. Like, that's the trend, guys, is it's moving in that direction. So do you want to be a one-trick pony where you're out of business? Do you want to be the Titanic while it's sinking? Or do you want to be thinking about what's coming down the road in our industry? How do I prepare? Like, I'm doing assignments every day of the week that I can, where it makes sense, where it's the best strategy, but I'm not so blind as to not be building out other strategies to stay relevant in the industry. And that's the point I think we're trying to make.
Yeah, I agree with all this. Jerry Norton, 2024. I don't think he has time. He's still working on making babies. I think 2028, maybe possibility.
I've learned something after 10 kids. It's a whole lot easier to make them than take care of them.
Yeah, I know. That's why they're over here eating all my food, bro. What's up?
Do you guys mind if I throw a political question into the mix? Because I think we should actually kind of address what happened in the last. I think
politics make a big difference in the way that we do business. So yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I'm one of the most disgusting things I think I've ever seen in my life as an American citizen happened in the last week, and I'm curious as to how this is going to affect our industry. I'm curious, and again, not forget the industry, the country itself, but how does that trickle down into the economics of our industry? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we are a divided nation with some craziness going on. What are your guys' thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts about where this goes, and personally, I think that cemented a victory for Trump.
Yeah,
personally. But I'm curious as to what we think with regards to what's going to happen.
We have always been a country of people who are defiant against authority for good reason. From the very first day that we started this country, it has always been a defiance against a higher power that tries to control us for religious purposes, political purposes, economic purposes, what have you. The spirit of an American, Democrat or Republican, will not tolerate the deep state. They will not tolerate this authoritarian view of, I'm going to attack you and I'm going to shut things down. I even see, remove the fact that I am a business person and you would assume I'm Republican. I could care either. I don't care either way. I'm going to go make money either way. I'm going to figure out whatever those idiots do in Washington. I'm going to figure out a way to make money either way. However, when I see somebody like Trump is being attacked, America feels like that is them. Yeah. And what happens is that kid who took a shot at Trump and killed somebody in that crowd actually recently donated to a Democrat or a liberal leaning organization. And so whether it's right or wrong, whatever your belief is, it doesn't matter. Perception is reality in this situation. Everybody in the country feels like they were just attacked as an American. Yes. And when you see Trump being attacked in the courtroom over what he did, and he's a felony and all this kind of stuff, when really what it was something he didn't do illegally. Okay. Americans feel like they're being attacked too. If they can do that to a billionaire, they can do that to you.
If they can do that to a president,
right? And you feel like you have no control. What happens is, I think it stirs up the spirit of the American, the people who came across that big old ocean and came over here and said, we're fleeing religious persecution. Even Jerry and I are Mormon. Okay. Our church fled New York and went all the way to Utah, went through hell and back just to get away from religious persecution from people who fled Europe to flee religious persecution. We have this spirit in us of a fighter that we will not allow authority above us. And when you see what the government has done over the last 10, 15 years, even some of the Republicans, the amount of control, the amount of, holding us back and balls and chains that they're slowly trying to put on us, I think this thing that happened to Trump the other day is actually a good thing at the end of the day, is it reminds the American, we can't be controlled. We need to band as a country and run our country and not wait by the wayside. Kind of similar to this thing that's happening with NAR and them lobbying against wholesalers. Guys, they're taking your liberty away. They're taking your ability to feed your family away. Now you're going to just react to that and go, all right, you're the boss. At some point, I think even wholesalers are going to stand up and they're going to band together. I don't know how bad it has to get. I don't know how long it's going to go, but it could be 2, 3, 5, 7 years before wholesalers just go, this is ridiculous. They're not even letting us close on the That's going to happen too. I bet you in 5 to 7 years, they're going to say, if you don't close on the property and then keep the property for 24 months, you wholesaled the deal. You had intention. It will happen. And I think you guys need to be reminded that the government will continue to push and people in power will continue to seize more power. And what happened with Trump the other day, I think reminds all of us business owners that we can't stand for that kind of crap. And it actually bands us together. And I think it's a good thing for businesses. And I think Trump, if he gets elected, hate me or love me, there's some Democrats in here. I think it's better for the American spirit if Trump gets elected, for business owners to because what is the economy more than anything? The economy is sentiment, belief, confidence, right? If you have confidence in your leader, you have confidence in your country, you're going to spend money, you're going to start a business. And I think overall, people are more confident in Trump than they are in Biden right now. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would add, Jamil, like for me personally, I didn't really quite grasp the division until I put a post 2 days ago on my Instagram. And it's just this iconic picture, right, of Trump, fist in the air, blood on his face. And all I said in my post was, I said, gets shot at, bleeding, and stands up and puts his fist in the air. What a savage. I didn't even think it was a political, post. And I've lost thousands of Instagram followers, and I'm not a big Instagram guy. Like the reaction on this post is like what Pace gets every single day on his Instagram. For me, it was like 300 plus comments and a lot of hate, a lot of division, a lot of people saying, I can't believe you posted this. I'm never following you again. And so it's like, wow, look at the division. Even I thought I had like real estate people that followed me, like want to make money. And I don't know. I kind of had this idea that there was a certain type of follower. Christian. I'm like, I check all the boxes: white, middle-aged male, Christian, family. You know what I mean? Like, but there's a lot of division around all of this, and it's just really sad to see.
Yeah, and just real quick, Josh Weinroth, obviously you're sharing your opinion. You don't like Trump, and I get that. I think Trump is a bumbling, absolute idiot, and he's not presidential, and I don't appreciate the way that he shows to the rest of the world. I'm on the same page there. Yeah. But I have no control. I have no say at all. Think about that. Okay. And by the way, here's why politics are divisive, because
but we also don't condone someone getting shot.
No. And this is where politics mess everybody up. Okay. This is why you can't talk about politics at your dinner table, because Josh will take something out of completely out of context. He's talking about Trump was attacked, right, by the government. They obviously are trying to take him down, so he goes to jail and he can't be elected, and they're trying to mess with his guys. Go read a history book. This has been done for hundreds of years. It's just that now social media is out there. It's elevated, and we now are aware of it. These guys were killing each other 200 years ago. They're poisoning each other's freaking mistresses 300 years ago. It's been done for hundreds of years. This is nothing new. So forget about the politics, forget all that stuff. But Josh, you're saying, well, he's the one attacking judges' daughters, the bailiff. He shouldn't have even been in the courtroom in the first place. And so this is why this is so funny. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but now he's there your reaction is, but he's the one attacking everybody. Bro, that's politics. Now we're getting into politics. And it's like he shed, she shed. It's a waste of all of our time. It's a waste of all of our time. The point is, what will this do to the business atmosphere if Trump is elected? Forget your political affiliation. Forget it for a second. Yep. What will happen if Biden gets elected? Bro, look at Biden's supporters withdrawing at the fastest rate you've ever seen any supporter leave. You've got people that are staunch Democrats that are like, this dude needs to resign. Yep. So what does that tell you to the business community? If I'm a business owner and Biden gets reelected, do I have more or less confidence in my future as a business owner if Biden is elected or if Trump is elected? Just from a perception standpoint, what is true and what's not true is not important. Marketing is perception and perception is reality. If a business owner believes that the country is in better hands, they will hire more people. They will spend more money. People will create more businesses. If Biden, no matter how cool the guy is, he might be the coolest guy on the planet. I don't know much about Biden other than he obviously is a little past his prime, and that loses confidence in the business owner, Democrat or Republican. That is really ultimately Jamil's question. Where is our country going if Biden gets elected? What does real estate look like? What does business look like? If Trump gets elected, what does business look like? I can tell you right now, even if I was a Democrat, I'd look at Trump and I'd be like, homeboy just got a bullet literally shot at him. It went through his ear. It was half an inch from killing him. Homeboy stood up and put his fist in the air. Even if I'm a Democrat, I'm like, that's dope.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
I want that guy. I want to have a business in a country that's led by that guy.
People literally thought that he staged it himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
you stage a half an inch, right?
You
stage a centimeter.
There's a lot of fortune
Come
tellers.
on.
There's
Come
a lot
the
of
F
fortune
on, guys.
tellers. There's just nonsense, and that's fine. I get it. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and they get to go to the ballots and they get to vote for whoever they want to or not. That's what we get. But I'm still like shell shocked by it, to be honest. I mean, I don't think that we've never seen anything like this. I was born in 1981. That was the last time that this even was attempted on Reagan, and just it feels fake. So I understand what people are saying, but the quickness to people to pick one side or the other, and to this man was shot at. I don't care what you think, right? They almost killed. I mean, he was almost killed.
I think that is the point, though.
That's a boiling point. Look at the point. That is not a society that we want to live in. I mean, look at
the Democrats, though, their response, right? I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, that's my political affiliation. Okay? I'm an entrepreneur. I think Republicans suck, and I think Democrats suck. And I think if you are so staunch in your Republican or your Democrat view, you are blind to something, because they both suck. They both lie. They both manipulate equally.
But it's the lesser of two evils. Like, that's it. You got two options. So it's the lesser.
And that's the problem. But here's when Josh is saying this, Josh, think about this. This is why politics are so messed up, is because what you just typed is why they win. Because they are so good at marketing. Just like Nike gets you emotionally tied to their brand.
Propaganda.
And it's propaganda. Josh, you want to argue whether Trump was supposed to be in that courtroom. What does it matter if he was or was not? Did it pay your bills or pay my bills? No. That's the point that Jamil's making. None of this crap, okay? None of this crap should we even believe either side. The entrepreneur class has been forgotten. That's what this country was founded on, was the ability, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet we are reacting to other people's show. It's a show. They're putting on a show. Trump might not even be a real person, Josh.
Do people understand how this works? How fundraising works?
No.
How they literally are going around from town to town speaking at rallies to get funds to buy ads to put their face in front of more people. Do we understand? It's marketing, guys. Like, this is a popularity contest, and people are going to get up in arms and want to kill people and do all this crazy stuff and like really like not talk to their family about this. It's bananas. You're getting played. You're getting played.
On Instagram. I mean, come on, guys. You unfollow me on Instagram? What the heck?
This is the thing.
Jerry's very sad. You're making Jerry sad. It makes me sad.
If they both suck, why don't we shed light on independents? Because independents suck at marketing. You need to understand this. The greatest person,
the money. Who can raise the most money? Come on.
And who can get the most attention? Grant, I was texting Grant Cardone a couple of days ago about a post he made, and I was like, dude, this is so spot on. He says, attention is currency.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that these guys will go do outlandish things. And I'm going to tell you, I was jarred like Brent was for a short while, but this is how I look at politics. The greatest thing that ever happened to Donald Trump was him being shot at. The greatest thing. You want to know why?
Legendary now. Yeah,
he's a genius marketer. He will take that. His team will take that. Not because he got shot at. They're already over it. His camp is already over it. They're writing scripts to manipulate all of our minds. And guess what? Biden's over there reacting to write scripts to manipulate our minds. They're both doing it, my friends. And the independents are like, what's going on here? They suck at marketing. And so they don't get attention. That's why.
What was really funny was and again, I'm not a political person by any means, and I only brought it up because of the business aspect of it. But when you see the response that Biden gave, it was listing then 5 or 6 other instances of violence that have occurred, which he hadn't even spoken about up until that happened. And so it was just like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, let us not forget all of the kidnapping attempts, this. Oh, and the assassination of one of our presidents, or the attempted assassination of one of our presidents.
He didn't say president. He called him Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
At the end
he
of the
will not
day,
call him president.
Guys, let's be real. Where are we living, and what are we looking at? That's what's important. And we gotta care about this. We gotta care about this for our future, because it not only affects our kids, it affects our livelihoods, it affects everything that we're doing. It's important. It's important.
But I will tell you, for wholesaling,
Anna, I love you.
Follow Jerry about what's going on in your state.
Yes, 100%. Anna says, I just don't think politics is appropriate here. 100% incorrect. The government of the government of Pennsylvania, the politicians of Pennsylvania just outlawed your ability to make money in that state.
Right.
2 senators.
Tell me politics is not appropriate here. It is the most appropriate thing for this exact show. And you need to understand the truth. Forget about being Republican. Forget about being Democrat. I'm not saying one side is right or no, I am. I'm saying both sides are wrong. You choose. Guys, if you're Democrat, you're wrong. If you're Republican, you're wrong. You want to know why? Because we both pay the same price at the gas pump. And whether you're a Democrat wholesaler or you're a Republican wholesaler, guess what? Neither one of you can wholesale in Pennsylvania. Politics are important. If politics are not important, then all you are is a pawn in somebody else's game. You need to know what's going on so that not only you can react, but you can gain enough influence that you can actually change things.
By the way, did you guys see Biden proposing a cap rate on rent?
I did see that.
Jerry, politics are not important here, please.
That's going to have a dramatic effect on things. Are you kidding? Yeah.
Low. You see what I'm saying here? Low, you are just as poisoned by this whole system as anybody else. Pace wants to complain about the two-party system, but not talk about the good independents that are literally the solution. Dude, I think independents are dope, but they suck at marketing. And your thing is like, well, it's the media. Guess what, independents? The Republicans own their media platforms, and the Democrats own their media platforms. That's called marketing. What platforms does an independent own? Get with it. Independents, I'd love to see you wake up. I've donated multiple times to independents, and guess what they do? They just talk. They have to be as good at the game. You cannot win this game by not playing this game. The independents have to get attention as well. Straight up. Okay? I'm sorry that I'm aggressive here, but you need to wake up and realize that politics are important. And you need to look at it as an entrepreneur, not as a Republican like your parents told you to be, not a Democrat like your parents told you to be, but as an independent thinker, as an entrepreneur. How are you going to take care of yourself? And more importantly, all of us have employees, guys.
Yep.
All of us, all four of the people, I would say collectively, the four people on this screen right here have a little over 1,000 employees that rely on their paycheck. Tell me my employees don't want me thinking about politics. Tell me that. Convince me
it's
that
your
my
responsibility to.
It is. It is my responsibility to look at both the stupid things that Republicans do and the stupid things that Democrats do and not pick a side because I already chose a side. It's called the entrepreneur side. Straight up. And by the way, independents are cool, but they suck at marketing. That's it. Tell them to get their game up. Okay? Sorry, I got all passionate about it.
It's all good.
Everybody's wrong.
Yeah. It's important. It's important that we address it, talk about it, have a discussion. You know, listen, we're all family, we're all friends, we all love each other. There's no harm here. There's no ill intent to anybody. But what Pace is saying, what Pace and Jerry, Brent, myself, what we're saying, guys, is important. It's important. It matters.
And maybe you can go follow me on Instagram if you're not already to make up for the thousands I lost, just
Yes.
Trump gets shot. I lose followers. I mean, it's just a bad day all around.
I thought, here's what I thought. This is what's so sad about this. I thought Trump's party's not even worried about him getting shot. They all just said, yes, we just won the White House. Biden's party's like, we don't really care about Trump getting shot. What do we say that looks like we care? What do we say? Biden, what we got to have you say something. You got to look empathetic. You got to do this. They've got 15 people telling them what to say, guys. And we're sitting here talking about them too. The sad thing is they're out there making laws and messing up our lives. And we are all but doing nothing but reacting. And I'm going to make a really bold statement here. Liz, this might be a philosophical statement that you're making, but let's remove philosophy here. An independent vote is a wasted vote.
It's wasted.
It's a wasted vote. But you're putting a stand up. Okay, great. You're like the people that are standing there with picket signs and people are driving right by you, not looking at you. You want to change something? Here's how you change something. You make so much money and you gain influence and power, and you go and use that influence and power in a positive way, and you actually change things in a good way. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. You have to have good people in office, and there are good people in office. Sadly, they're not great marketers. We need good marketers in office that get the attention and actually go do cool things. It's tough. It's a tough thing, but politics are important, guys. The way we're taxed, the way they do rent control, the way that, I don't want it the other way either. As a landlord, I don't want my tenants not to have rights, but I also don't want to be a landlord that has no rights. I want there to be a balance. And that's a tough thing in a two-party system. So you got to know the states, you got to know the laws, you got to know the politics. These things are important. And it's the only way you're going to ever become a multi-millionaire is to care about these things. Sorry.
Jerry, why'd you post it? Just curious.
I just thought that picture of him is going to go down in history books. We're going to see that picture for 1,000 years. It's one of the most iconic pictures of all time. Right. So I just thought it was legendary that he did that. Like him or hate him or not. What a
response.
What a savage.
What an immediate at the end of the day, your immediate response to whatever trauma, to whatever thing you're going through, your immediate response is who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is your immediate response. Your immediate response is who you really are. But you don't got time to think about it. Nothing like that. Your immediate response is who you are. And what we saw his immediate response was, it's a fighter.
That's a fighter. That's a fighter.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Got shot in the ear, drops down, somehow loses his shoes. I don't even know what kind of shoes he was wearing, but he gets his shoes knocked off, gets the dog pile.
And think about it. Secret Service surrounds you, but he's standing up and he's looking for a window of, he wants to be seen. To me, he's telling a shooter, it takes more than that. I'm not going down, and I'm willing to be seen. I'm not going to stay hidden. I'm willing to be seen because I'm a fighter. Like, that just for me was iconic. Like, amazing.
I love that. I've got last question maybe of the night. We're 11 minutes late. And this will tie into what I have going on this week. Dustin Moore says, who can help me get my first deal? Because I don't know. I want to make $5,000 and acknowledge my mom. My mom was in an accident and just got in my army, not in the position to help yet. Love that. Okay. Let me tell you, I can be the person that can help you do that. What I'm doing on Saturday, check this out. On Saturday, I'm doing a presentation talking about a world record that I'm going to break. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the newbies in the world. Look at this is you, the newbie right here. And I'm going to go pair you up across the country with my community and help you get your first deal. We're going to make 500 teams and help 500 people get their first deal. We're calling it No One Left Behind. We're going to be doing that this Saturday, talking about how you get into the No One Left Behind challenge. You're going to have a Gator, a top tier TC, a sub 2 student. All of these people are going to pair up with you and give you the knowledge and fill in the gaps of your understanding. Show up on Saturday. Here's how you show up on Saturday. DM me the word Saturday. Go to Instagram, DM me the word Saturday. I'll give you a Zoom link. And we did it for 2 hours on Saturday, but we had some technical difficulties. So we're doing it again this Saturday. DM me the word Saturday. I'll give you the link for Saturday morning's training. Brent, what do you have going on this week, brother?
I got the live show Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock Pacific time. Come join us. It's going to be a great show, 2 hours, some incredible guests. It's going to be really, really, really fun. And just to put a bow on some of the things that Jamil and Jerry were talking about earlier about never lying and be a truth teller and a truth seeker. You know what I mean? Truth teller, truth seeker. That's the only way to do business. It's the only way that we all do business. It's the only way that you can stay a long time in this business. And this is the best business of all time. So be a truth teller, truth seeker. Thank you.
Amen.
Jamil, what do you got going on this week, brother?
Straight out of Compton, helping you guys figure out how to value your properties so that you can do the takedown method the way that Jerry's teaching you. Just, you know what? It's important, guys. You need Gators to help you fund deals, but Gators don't want to fund crap deals. So come learn how to value properties. I teach you that on Wednesdays and Sundays.
Jerry, what do you got going on this week, brother?
It's actively putting out content on YouTube, getting ready for community camp. We're going to have how many people, Pace, here at the
I don't want to tell you I don't want to I know Brent told me to be a truth seeker and a truth sayer, but I'm going to do the Fifth Amendment right here and just withhold my information.
I was going to double whatever number you said anyway, but we're going to have a bunch of people over. So looking forward to next week's going to be last year was one of the best experiences, I think, of, top in my life. And I think everybody that came community camp. So just really excited to hang out with you guys and see a lot of people and do some fun stuff. And yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Guys, remember, the only political class that you should ever say you are part of is the entrepreneur class, the ones that think for themselves, do for themselves, and serve everybody else. That is our job as entrepreneurs, is serve everybody, no matter what their skin color is, no matter what their sex affiliation is, no matter what anything is. We have, when you walk into mine and Jamil's office, you'll see 47% of the people, actually probably more than that right now. I bet we have 55% of our team members are female. The other 45% are male. We have same-sex marriages in our offices. We have every skin color you can imagine from people all over the entire world. We love them all the exact same because we are entrepreneurs. We do not care about any of those things. It is our right and our obligation to go out there and better ourselves so that we can make more money to serve the people that work for and on our teams. Love you guys.
Amen.
Appreciate
Amen.
you. Wholesale
Love you, brother.
Hotline. Wholesale Hotline. Yeah. We out.
Let's go. Later.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say that thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool.
think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.